Λοιπόν, καλησπέρα σε όλους και όλες. Ελπίζω να με ακούτε. Είμαι ο Αντώνης Καφά, επίκουρος καθηγητής εδώ στο Ανοικτό Πανεπιστήμιο Κύπρου και ακαδημαϊκός υπεύθυνος του Μεταπτυχιακού Προγράμματος Education Leadership and Policy. Και σας καλωσορίζουμε σε ακόμη μια εκδήλωση που συνδιοργανώνεται από τον Κυπριακό Όμιλο Εκπαιδευτικής Διοίκησης και το Μεταπτυχιακό Πρόγραμμα Education Leadership and Policy του Πανεπιστημίου μας. Στη σημερινή εκδήλωση έχουμε την χαρά να φιλοξενούμε την αναπληρώτρια καθηγήτρια Iman Rabah από το Modern University for Business and Science του Λιβάνου, η οποία θα μας παρουσιάσει τη διάλεξή της με τίτλο The Implementation of the Total Quality Management Model in Higher Education and its Possible Success at the Primary and Secondary Education Level. Επιτρέψτε μου να καλωσορίσω την αγαπητή συνάδελφο στα αγγλικά και να διαβάσω λίγα λόγια για το έργο της. So, Dr Iman, on behalf of the Cyprus Educational Administration Society at the Open University of Cyprus, we extend our warmest welcome. We look forward to hearing your presentation on the importance of the soft quality management. But before that, please allow me to read a few words about your work. Okay, so Dr. Rabah's administrative and academic career in higher education spans over 14 years in the Registrar of Faculty Coordination in the University of Wollongong in Dubai, and then as a faculty member in the American University in Dubai and University of Wolverhampton in Dubai. Her main teaching experience is in business research, business statistics, research methods, quality management, cross-cultural management, leadership, strategic management, educational management, and change management at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Dr. Rabah is currently the Dean of Quality Assurance at the Modern University for Business and Science, handling accreditation and institutional effectiveness. Besides pedagogical research at the higher education level, including curriculum design and critical thinking, Dr. Rabah's area of research is in quality management and leadership models using qualitative and/or quantitative research methods. In addition to a special interest in paradox theory building that exploits theoretical tensions to construct new models that accept the paradox, clarifies analysis levels, separates the two levels at the preliminary stage of research, and then finds innovative terms to resolve the tension paradox. Dr. Rabah's teaching and research philosophy is based on professional autonomy, including academic freedom and academic quality in teaching and research. She believes that teaching in higher education is to help students develop and mature intellectually into critical thinking democratic citizens. Dr. Rabah, Dr. Iman, welcome again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, again, my name is Iman Rabah, and I come from the Modern University for Business and Science. Thank you, Dr. Kafa. Thank you, Open University of Cyprus, for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you in here. I'm going to start today by, I wanted to introduce myself, but Dr. Kafa has already introduced me. So we're going to talk about quality management in higher education and its possible success at the primary and secondary level. So as Dr. Kafa said, my doctorate degree is from Birmingham University in the Dubai branch, and it is in quality management in higher education. I'm really interested in quality management research, and especially at the higher education level, in addition to pedagogical and research methods. I'm also an editor for SAGE, in addition to reviewer and editor for different journals as well. And Dr. Kafa had already explained about my experience in Dubai, and currently I'm the Dean of Quality at the Modern University for Business and Science in Lebanon. I'd like to give you a 2 minutes brief about the university. The Modern University for Business and Science is a private university. It is a multi-campus model university with 6 campuses in Lebanon. Its special point about it is the diversity. We have different students from different areas in Lebanon, and at the same time, we're active in terms of internationalization and affiliation. We're affiliated with the Stanford University in USA, with Cardiff Met, University of Staffordshire, UK, and Princeton University in USA as well. We are accredited by a valid accreditation, a European accreditation, and we are ranked first in Lebanon and 51st in the world in THE Impact Ranking, SDG 4 Quality Education, and SDG 5 Gender Equality. In addition to SDG 1, Combating Poverty, since we really work on providing scholarships and high financial aid for our students to make higher education available to most of the students in Lebanon. The university is really active in community service through its NGO, the National Wellness Network, and this organization helps us to conduct research using the data that we collect from the community while we're providing the service to the community. In fact, what I'd like to do this afternoon is to have this lecture more of a discussion between the people whom I'm honored to have with us today here at the university in Cyprus and those who are joining us online. So I prefer to be talking to people whom I know and they've introduced themselves to me, so we know your background and how we would accommodate this presentation to the area of your expertise and to your work, basically. So please briefly just introduce yourself. We'll start with the people who are here with us in this conference room, and then introduce yourself and mainly your full name, because some names are written in Greek language and maybe not all our audience here can understand your name and your career or your work, so we know how to relate in this presentation. So I'm going to start here. I don't know if the camera can take us, but maybe would you please start by introducing yourself? Yes, Professor.
Okay, I'm Petros Psaltis. I'm a professor of educational leadership and director of the Open University of Cyprus.
Okay, thank you, Professor Petros. Please.
Hello, I'm Andreas Chakiros. I am working at the Ministry of Education at the Department of Primary Education, and I'm also the treasurer of the Administration Society.
Okay, nice meeting you. Welcome to the lecture. Please.
Hi, my name is Stavros. I'm a student here at the Open University in the Quality, Technology and Management MSc. And my professional life is in hospitality management.
Hospitality. You attended yesterday's lecture, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you again in this lecture. Please.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Vasos Savidis, and I work for the Cyprus Academy of Public Administration. I have been a student in the Open University of Cyprus. I have earned a PhD in educational leadership.
Would you please remind me of your name?
Vasos.
Vasos. I want to pronounce it right. Okay, Vasos. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Please.
Hello, I'm Georgia Pachartis. I'm a schooling inspector in primary education. I work at the ministry, and we supervise schools, primary schools in Nicosia.
Welcome and thank you for joining. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Theodoros.
Theodoros, yes.
I also work at the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth, and I'm the Secretary of the Board of the Cyprus Education Administration Society. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Okay.
Is it okay if we keep this?
Okay.
People from here instead, online.
Yes, absolutely. Since there are many people joining online,
yes.
So it's good that who are joining us here from the campus, and it's a pleasure to have you all. However, please feel free to raise your hand whenever you want to give your opinion or to discuss any point that we're talking about. Okay, so today we're going to talk about traditional university management and how managerialism was introduced to university, then total quality management, and the total quality management model, how it was also implemented at secondary and primary educational levels. Okay, for the traditional university management systems, in fact, I'm going to tell you how things has happened in a story way, so we can relate how quality management started in higher education. And in fact, what for the management of higher education, it was really unique. The traditional management systems for higher education are unique. They're different from any other management systems in the industry. And the uniqueness of management systems in the university is that the profession is unique by itself. In fact, although some professions like medicine and engineering are also called professions, but the difference here is that professors at the university, they don't only apply knowledge, they also create knowledge when they conduct research, in fact. So this gives them a privilege where they have the authority to have high professional autonomy and academic freedom. So that's why until the late 1980s, the management models at universities were based on the collegial model, and they were named as governance models more than management models. They followed the collegial model. Most of the universities, if not all the universities that were all public, and we're talking here in top Western countries, they followed the traditional university collegial model. And when we say collegial model, it is basically a model that gives authority to all professors and deans and chairpersons at the same level. So here what I'm trying to say is that usually in the industry, the manager gets promoted from one level to another until he gains all or she gains all the information and the expertise, where the manager or the leader is always the most expert person in the organization. However, at the university, it is a bit different. For example, a dean for the Faculty of Business and Science, who is a professor in finance, isn't necessarily the right person to evaluate the performance of a professor in marketing, for example, even in the same school, in the same faculty. So that's why at the university, the collegial model was applied, where people have the same authority, they have the same power, they have the same input, although they have different levels in terms of positions. And at the same time, because higher education is unique, the collegial model was serving it very well, especially that it requires this academic freedom. It requires the academic freedom in terms of selecting the topics that they want to conduct research in, and it requires the trust. The higher education system was based on professional autonomy. And when we say professional autonomy, we're talking about academic freedom in teaching and research. At that time, professors had full freedom to select the way they teach their students, to write the syllabi themselves, to change the curriculum, and at the same time to select the assessment methods of the students. At that time, this was there. And maybe you can tell us that about schools, if this was applied as well, early, based on professional autonomy and academic freedom. But this is not the case now anymore. So this is the main debate here, if this full freedom should still apply or not. So until the 1980s, the governance system was absolutely based on professional autonomy. people are professional enough to have freedom. This was the model at universities, at least, before we talk about schools. Even universities applied the shared governance model. Some universities, they still apply it until now, especially in the USA and UK, where the dean takes the position, for example, for 3 years or 5 years. After that, another professor takes the position of a dean, and the dean is back to his office as a professor and his research work. So the purpose here is having one vision, one mission for the whole university, that all people work to achieve it, more than a vision of a leader and a personal vision. It's more of the universities and the department's vision. At the same time, academic tenure was really there until the 1980s, much more than now. And when we say academic tenure, it means that professors have a job for a lifetime. They guarantee their job for a lifetime. And this actually supports the uniqueness of universities, because academic tenure, when they know that they have a job for a lifetime, first, the commitment increases, and academic tenure also helps in academic freedom, because they know that they're not going to leave their job, whatever research they conduct. Nowadays, in many universities, in different regions of the world, at least we can say in some of the Arab countries, professors are not able to conduct their research with full academic freedom. They have to consider the politics and the political side of the university that they work in. Otherwise, their career would be questioned. In universities that have academic tenure, this is not a problem. So academic tenure supports academic freedom, because they are free to conduct their research the way they want and to teach in a professional way. In addition to collegiality, because people are not worried of hiring faculty members who are also able and who are also with high expertise. So until the late 1980s, universities were managed based on these traditional university management systems: the collegial model, the shared governance model, academic tenure, professional autonomy, including academic freedom and academic freedom in research and also in teaching. Okay, now what happened? In the late 1980s and early 1990s, people from less developed countries started traveling to more developed countries and study abroad. So the number of students has increased dramatically in most of the wealthiest countries like Japan, Canada, Italy, Germany, France, UK, and the US. So public universities were not able to fund, or governments were not able to fund public universities anymore, because the number of students had really increased. And at the same time, technology was starting there. And technology is also expensive. So high number of students, high budgets for technology, all together, they helped in starting the private universities. Because until then, there were only public universities that are mostly free in terms of tuition fees, but they couldn't, the governments couldn't afford that anymore. So private universities started, and as soon as the private universities started, these universities wanted to attract more students because they depend on tuition fees of students. And when they started thinking of having more students, here they started using management models and marketing models from the industry. So business models here started to be applied in the university. Instead of academic tenure, we started having contracts. So contractualism instead of academic tenure. And instead of collegial model, it's more of a managerial model. Now, the debate in the literature is that this should happen because you cannot manage a private university with traditional management university systems. And at the same time, some scholars argue that this is a very big problem because whenever you have business model applied, the university is changing to a business, you want to attract more students, and here maybe the quality would be questioned because you're focusing on the number of students, and sometimes you want to satisfy this student, or it's named in some models the customer of the university. And to satisfy the student, then you have to have an easy curriculum, an easy assessment way, and then the quality of higher education would be questioned. So I'd like to ask a question here to start our discussion more than to have a more interactive session. What do you think of considering the student as the customer of higher education or the university? We have a huge literature saying that the student is the customer. So those who are joining us online, please feel free to raise your hand or to give your opinion. And I'd also like to hear from professionals' opinion here. What do you think? Can we consider the student as the customer?
If I may, I would say that
so I can see you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
If I may, there is some truth in that, but I would also add that the customer is not always right.
It's not always right.
No, it's not always right. So the students' needs should be taken into consideration, but should not dictate the way the program is offered or run.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very important point here, that if he is the customer is not always right. So you're taking like a middle way in your opinion. Yeah. Anyone else would like to give your opinion about this point? Now,
it's dangerous to ask the students what they want because they are in a development phase of late teens, early professionalism, that maybe what they want is not fully formulated. It's better for the structure to come from the outputs of the university, I think.
Yeah.
It's not 40-year-old people usually, it's earlier the students.
Because it is dangerous, in fact. Otherwise, they're going to choose the easiest ways for them.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't be providing them the quality education that we want to offer as a university. Yes, absolutely. This is absolutely right. In fact, there is a lot of debate about who's the customer of higher education. Is the student the customer? Some other resources say that the student is the product and the customer is the employer who's going to hire this product if the university produces a good product. But these researchers are pure business. They are from a pure business perspective. However, educational people, they would say you cannot consider the student a customer or a product. Where are the human aspects? Where are the characteristics that you're working on this person?
Well,
yeah.
If I may add something in the discussion, sorry, excuse me. I would say that there's what I would call a first-order customer and a second-order customer. First-order customer are the students, and I agree exactly with what Theodore said. Then the second-order customer, I would agree with you, it is the business. Therefore, in order to design new products, as we said, or new programs, then it should be done in unison with some market approaches. At the same time, academia and research should be in unison with those two, create the new advantages or new ideas, etc., for the new programs in place. So it's first order and second order customers in my mind.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Petros. I agree with you, and I am not a researcher who agrees that the student is the customer, nor a product. And I'm gonna tell you in a while how I see the student, and I'm gonna tell you who's the customer of higher education according to the quality management model that I've created and that we were talking about before starting the lecture. Okay, so here what we have so far is that the university traditional management systems were not actually effective anymore. They had to move to some business models. Some universities named these business models as new public management, and it's a way not to say that it is a business model applied in education, honestly. And this was a big problem in terms of academia, that the professors, they lost a lot of their freedom. It's more a managerial model, as I mentioned, constraints on funds, collegiality was eroded by the erosion of the collegial model, no academic freedom anymore, as we said, scholarly values, more quantity of research than quality. Professors started to be asked to publish number of publications in order publish or perish, but they were like challenged to what extent I should publish, how many publications I should do to keep my job. One of my co-supervisors for my PhD, Clifton Chadwick from US, used to tell me, the problem is that we don't have enough time now to think. Our publications would be much better if we would have time to think with all the administrative tasks that we have in order to keep our job as professors, if we want to talk from a professor's point of view. So yes, business and education created a problem. We cannot deny that, in my opinion. This is a summary how it was eroded. Okay, now the solution for this would be total quality management. And it would be a solution not only for higher education, but also primary and secondary education due to examples that we will see now and that prove the success of quality management. Although total quality management is a business model, it is a business model, and it has some people who actually are opponents to this model. But maybe this is the model that would work for education in order to survive in this age where the collegial model and the shared governance model doesn't work anymore. We cannot deny that. Now it doesn't work anymore to have this full freedom, to have this full collegiality, full professional autonomy. You need to have some type of management and leadership. To give you a brief how quality started, quality management, it started in the industry in manufacturing and specifically in Japan, as we talked about that, Stavros, yesterday. So before Japan, even before the New Age, we can trace back the history of quality to the 11th century BC in ancient China. When they used to produce handicraft productions, they used to question the quality. How is the quality there? This was the first time it was there. Then, with manufacturing, and especially with manufacturing in the late 19th century, quality started as quality control. They used to produce products in manufacturing, and then they used to search for defects and remove the defects or take corrective action. And this was quality control. Then they thought to sum up long years of quality management history. Why don't we avoid defects before they happen? And they changed the model from quality control to quality assurance, avoiding defects before they happen. But quality assurance was very strict with employees and staff and workers. That's why Edward Deming, who is an American statistician, he started the concept of total quality management by saying, if you want to have high quality products, you should change the management system. Not only go to the production line and check if it's high quality. And you should focus on customers. And here he focuses on internal and external customers. He says the word customer includes external customers who buy from you the product and internal customers who are your employees or people and staff. If internal customers are happy, then external customers are happy. Leadership is essential. Teamwork, people all work for one vision. Empowerment, staff, they have empowerment more than delegation. When we say delegation, we tell people what to do and we tell them how to do. When we say empowerment, we give them the freedom to do things the way they want. We give them decision making. The corporate culture is essential to have a collaborative corporate culture, motivating corporate culture, and under strong leadership, clear strategy to know where the organization is going. There should be a clear strategy, a clear vision, a clear mission, clear goals, objectives, cascaded to all the departments, creating policies, procedures, and processes from these strategies that all serve the main strategy of the organization. And continuously improve, continuous improvement. These 7 words are the summary of total quality management. But they should work all together. For continuous improvement, Deming, who is from States, but his theory of total quality management wasn't recommended in the US, so he traveled to Japan and he joined manufacturing companies, and by applying TQM, they were really successful, and it is the period where they were more successful than the US companies, especially in the car industry, like Toyota. Total quality management was the reason that helped it to get to that level of providing high quality cars. After that, they started being convinced with his theories, and he came back to States and he worked as a consultant there. His focus on thought and continuous improvement is based on plan, do, check, act, PDCA cycle. He says we should always plan, implement our planning, like having strategies and objectives, and implementation, but always investigation and checking. And after that, take corrective action and never stop. It's a cycle. This is what he means when he says continuous improvement. Okay, the PDCA cycle or Schwartz cycle. And also his theory of profound knowledge, which focuses on psychology, where people should be motivated and fear should be eliminated. The knowledge, the system, when we talk about the strategy, and understanding variation by checking and inspection. He created from these 14 points that explain the main 7 points of how to apply total quality management, focusing on training, on encouraging education and self-improvement, helping people not to get exhausted at work, and all what we've mentioned before. So this is how total quality management started. In addition to that, Juren, who is also a quality guru, like when we say quality management, we say Deming, Juren, and some other professors as well, or scholars. His cycle of quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement is same as Deming. So Deming initiated total quality management and the theory. Also, Crosby, according to Crosby's theory, 0 defects is the standard. Doing it first, right from the first time. His book, Quality is Free, is a very recommended book that I really recommend you to read it. In addition to that, Masaki Emai, a Japanese scholar who wrote the book Gemba Kaizen. Gemba in Japanese, it means workplace, and Kaizen, it means continuous improvement. And he talks about improvement in the workplace and focusing on eliminating muda, mura, and muri. And this is in Japanese, muda is wasteful activity, mura is the inconsistencies, and muri the physical strains. Feigenbaum, who talked that quality is everybody's job. If everyone does the work with high quality, then we don't need for inspection, we don't need for a quality assurance department. And Taguchi, more of statistics and analysis and inspection, and Ishikawa, the fishbone diagram for finding causes for problems and trying to solve them by looking at the equipment, process, people, and here people are employees, material, environment, and management. So this is a summary of quality management that started in manufacturing and moved gradually to the service industry. So at the time where the collegial model in universities was being eroded and everyone was searching what's the best management model, new public management wasn't actually working well, total quality management came a bit of a solution. In the industry, it was moving from manufacturing in developed countries to more developing countries. And it started in the service industry and in public organizations like healthcare and education. At that time, in higher education, while the system was expanding and the increase in technology expenses and the new financial constrictions with the new liberalism, TQM was a model that was starting to being implemented in education, in higher education and in primary and secondary education as well. Now, I'm going to give you the point of view for defenders of TQM in higher education, those who said, yes, this is the solution, and the opponents who said, no, it's again a business model that cannot be applied. And I'd like to hear your opinion, especially that most of you here have an educational background, whether in higher education or primary education. So in summary, the defenders said, yes, it's a very good model. It will help us to find the gaps through the PDCA cycle and to bridge the gaps. So it will help in continuous improvement. And they said when they tried it, it helped in increasing staff morale and teamwork and the quality of the programs. So these are mainly the comments of those who implemented the TQM model in education and found it successful. However, for other education people, what they found is that it doesn't work. It talks about standardization and having a system, and standardization cannot work in teaching. You cannot teach all the kids the same way. The problem of customer identification was also there, and they said in total quality management, they always say, Theodore, they say that customer is always right. One of the concepts of total quality management, regardless if we agree or not. So they said, how can you say that and apply such a model to education where customer is not always right, as you've mentioned? Or organizational and cultural issues to accept the new management system and to accept this new corporate culture. The role of the student, measuring performance. Quality management is all about inspection and statistics. How would you do that in education? How would you measure performance? And maybe here, Ms. Georgia can help us in her opinion, like how to measure performance. and the effectiveness of the program. So please share with us your opinion. Can we apply such a model at the university or even at primary and secondary level? What do you think, Ms. Georgia?
Well, what I have in mind is the centralized system in our country, which seems to be very difficult to apply that in such a centralized system. I cannot think of anything else regarding primary education.
Yeah. So in Cyprus here you have a centralized system.
Yeah.
So you have some standardization, like the system should go the same. Okay.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. By the way, this is one of the points. Please, Erato, can you please take some pictures here now? Thank you so much.
I'll send them to you.
Okay. I just want to post a story. I'm so happy to be with you guys. Okay, so maybe here, this is one of the points that I worked on modifying the total quality management model in my research, where instead of standardization, we can change it to more of consistency. That yes, we want all students to have the same learning objectives, or the curricula with same learning objectives. All students should learn the same thing, but students have their own needs, and the teacher at school level or the professor at the university can have freedom to communicate the learning objectives in the way that those students would accept it and that would serve their needs. Because not all students learn the same way. Sometimes you cannot teach different sections the same way. Sometimes you feel that you enter the class, and maybe all of us who teach can say that, and you have plan in mind, you have some learning objectives you want, but you feel that they're not ready to take that. You need to tell them things before starting with the main learning objectives, but at least some consistency. Other opinions from the Minister of Education, maybe Mr. Andreas?
Well, as a concept, it's okay to, we all agree on these points, but at the practical level, considering what Georgia has already said with regards to centralization of the system, I think it's quite difficult. So I don't know that what if we implement any of the aspects of TQM in education inside. So we teach it to students, but
when it comes to implementation, this is the hard part, as we were discussing before the lecture. Yes, absolutely, it is hard. And maybe in some cases we need to modify some models to fit into the context that we have. It doesn't necessarily mean that all educational contexts can have the same total quality management model to be applied in. Okay. Anyone else would like to share your opinion? Those who are joining online?
I would say standardization is always very much helpful, and standardization does not mean that you cannot deviate to some extent, as you said, when needed to deviate, depending on who you're teaching, what's the group like that you have before you, or who the people are you're working with. Yeah. So there is room for personalization or individualization, but the standardization helps to provide a minimum, not a maximum, but a minimum at least of processes that are acceptable for the organization to function effectively.
Yes, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you, because what I've done is modify the quality management model for universities. This model was mainly for Dubai universities, but it is applicable. It has a very high level of generalizability and applicable to different universities. And we're trying to apply this model now at the Model University for Business and Science. It is helping. I can tell you from a personal experience and a live experience. In the last 3 years after starting to apply quality management concepts, it's not yet a pure total quality management system, because different reasons, we're not yet ready in terms of culture, in terms of training, in terms of preparation. But it is helping, like the accreditation. The university's age is like 23 years old now. It is accredited. It is ranked for 3 consecutive years. The number of students are increasing. Higher satisfaction level when it comes to data collection and analysis from students, from staff, and from employers as well. So, and this would be a modified model or a balance between the total quality management model, and this model was mainly modified by going back to the traditional university management systems because they have very important values, like professional autonomy couldn't be eroded. Otherwise, the whole higher education process would be questioned. So here, this modified model talks, when it comes to processes and standardization, here it is recommended to have standardized administrative processes, but freedom in the academic process, especially in the way of teaching. In terms of assessment of results, assess students' learning, yes, through assessment methods, but for the assessment of staff and faculty, it's more of a self-evaluation, especially when we talk about academic staff and professors. They are professional enough to conduct self-evaluation through improving their pedagogical methods through pedagogical research and content research. We all know that we keep working on our research in the area that we teach in as professors, and at the same time, pedagogical methods. We always want to know new ways of teaching students. Planning pedagogical methods to meet subject learning outcomes through strategic objectives, having one mission, one vision. This part of strategic planning that is major in total quality management, yes, it can be applicable to universities, and it proved that it is successful in all the universities that have clear strategies and clear goals and missions. Training is more of training. Actually, it's substituted by self-development, and teamwork is through optional peer observation. Yes, we have teamwork at the university, and this is translated by peer observation and peer review. I don't know what's the case at the school level, like here in Cyprus. Do you conduct peer observation at school level? Like in the ministry, Theodoros, what do you, are teachers like allowed to visit each other classes for peer learning, or it's only for inspection?
They are allowed, but it's not the most common thing. It depends on their relations, and they don't have an allocated time to do that. So we need to make arrangement between them or with the head teacher. It's not the norm, but it does happen.
Okay.
Yeah. If I add some more, yeah, we encourage teachers to exchange visits and get into classroom, but there are other factors that we need to take into consideration. It is really important to consider the school climate. If the climate is right and is based on cooperation and open communication, and you have a strong leadership that encourages these approaches, then we see teachers to open their classrooms and allow the other teachers and everybody to get in.
Yes.
You need time, and because here in Cyprus, quite often I would say teachers are placed in different schools. This is our system. They don't really get so much opportunity by the time they're used to one school environment and start doing those visits. The next year they might be placed in another school, and they have to start again and be in a place that these approaches are welcomed by everybody.
Yeah.
You cannot do it on your own.
Absolutely, and it requires a lot of change management. Like, it's a change happening in the culture of the organization, whether it's a school or university, when we want to apply quality management. And it's a new culture that is requested. Yes, absolutely. And to accept this culture, they have to see that a change is happening, and they shouldn't be radical change. Like, tomorrow we'll start applying total quality management. It doesn't work like that. It requires a change management process. It requires change management models like APKY model to create awareness and the desire to go for the change, and then the knowledge, and then the ability, and then the reinforcement, all these change management steps. And this is one of the recommendations in this model. And we're applying it at our university, and it's really helping, where people know the need to change, the need to accept the new culture. So when they know the need, they will have the desire. Yeah. They know that, yes, we need to have this. So they would like to have it, and they would accept the training instead of telling them that now you have training in total quality management. If they have the block, if they don't want this change, they wouldn't accept it, and they wouldn't help in its success. So yes, it has part of change management, part of cultural awareness, and part of how to accept the new philosophy. More research, of course, is required, and this is the most important value. Collegiality can still apply in total quality management, because even there is total quality management and standardization in administrative tasks, but faculty can still be empowered, can still have ownership, can still have self-governance, because they're still professional in their areas, and they're still the right people if we are hiring the right people. Faculty responsibility is to keep receiving and interpreting knowledge, creating knowledge through research, and the leader's role here in this model is more of defending faculty members and creating vision, more than a manager's role like in the industry, which is the case in most of the successful universities, I guess. And in addition to change management, Georgia, it's also important to have the cross-cultural management awareness. Cross-cultural management or cross-cultural awareness. It's really important to have awareness among leaders in the different backgrounds of their members to have success in quality management, because not only diversity in terms of nationality or in terms of background, whether in religious background or ethnic group, but also personalities. Going back to Trompinar's and Hofstadt's theories, Trompinar says that some people are born with internal locus of control, others with external locus of control. Those people with internal locus of control, they take the strength from inside and they can spread it. Those with external locus of control, they're more comfortable to have the strength from their colleagues, from their friends, from their peers, and we find it among our children. Those with internal locus, they would decide which movie they want to watch, and they will take the group to watch the movie. With external locus of control, they prefer to have a consensus decision-making, a group decision-making, more than being taking the strength from internally. So to apply all of this, to apply the 7 concepts of quality management that we started with in education, whether at higher education or school level, it's not easy to bring people into this culture. That's why we should understand the cultural background of the staff and the people of the organization in order to help each and everyone to prosper and to be successful in the area that they find themselves. Some of them are individualistic, some are collectivist, and it depends what tasks to give them to be successful. To answer the question that I first asked you, who is the customer of higher education and who is the product? In this model, when you apply all of what I've mentioned in the last few slides, high quality of teaching and research will be achieved, which are the core activities of higher education, and the customer and the product are actually the same, not the student, neither the student nor the employer, but community development. Because if we want to consider community development as the customer and work to serve it at the educational institute, the product, to satisfy it, to serve it and satisfy it, the product will eventually be community development. It's like a target that we have where we consider it the customer and the product. So this is mainly the model, Professor Petros, by combining TQM with traditional university management systems. Many universities apply total quality management and had a successful experience, like the nursing department at University of Virginia. Finnish higher education organizations, they also had a very good successful experience in applying total quality management at higher education. Johns Hopkins University also in the Arab region, higher education institutes in Oman, the accreditation bodies were based on quality management, and they had a very successful experience. For the schools that applied quality management in education, you would find that most of the schools didn't apply it as a holistic approach. The 7 points that are the main principles of quality management, to have these successful 7 points, they should be applied together as a holistic approach. Like, you cannot have leadership without teamwork, you cannot have a corporate culture to achieve without having a clear strategy. So it's all interrelated. And mainly, as you've mentioned, Georgia, the main problem was that the cultural problem, the acceptance and the mentality and the culture. This was the main obstacle in applying TQM in education. One of the successful schools in total quality management was West Hill Education, Vocational and Technical High School in New York. They had a lot of problems and they applied a full total quality management model. And it helped them to improve their students' reading skills and math skills. It helped them also to improve their teachers' skill, to have one clear mission. They trained their teacher in total quality management, and they chose a quality steering committee and a quality coordinator. And usually, sometimes the quality coordinator, while they're preparing for the quality improvement, he or she handles change management, and he's called the change agent because they're going through a big change. And they usually choose a person who is liked by all his colleagues and who is close to everyone to help in the success of the change. Everyone should be empowered in quality management. So what this school did, they also introduced to students quality management, and a class of children was chosen as a quality leader, and they used to meet with the principal every month, even students, to discuss the improvement they see it from students' perspective. And the school reported that the dropout rates went down because of applying this strategy. The improvements included more extracurricular activities, more parents attending meetings, more students able to graduate and join colleges, more students intrinsically motivated compared to extrinsic motivation. So it was a pure success of TQM. And now the quality awards all over the world that are based on total quality management are so attractive to schools. I'm going to show you a summary of them, and then you'll tell me if you apply to quality awards here in Cyprus as schools and universities, or whether you think it is applicable at least. One of the most famous awards is the EFQM, the European Foundation for Quality Management Award. And when they visit you to get this award, they look at leadership, people, strategy, partnership, and resources, processes, products, and services as enablers, and then they assess the results. People, customers, and society results in addition to business results. So here, it's all based on the 7 quality management principles. This is in Europe, in States, and they follow the ATCAR, the radar logic. Radar logic required approaches, deploy, assess, and refine, and then results based on PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act for Damming. So whenever you have a quality award, you cannot get it if you don't have a total quality management model. The same principles are applied. Here we have some of the organizations that were awarded recently by EFQM, including a university, University for Business and Technology. We have also for Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. It's the American award that follows the same criteria of EFQM. We find here that recently many education organizations, schools, colleges have received this award. So now, as you can see worldwide, these awards are attractive to schools. To what extent you find such awards, such quality awards? When we say quality awards, we mean EFQM, we also Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. In Australia, it's called Australian Quality Award, Dubai Quality Award. They all have the same criteria and all based on quality management. Even ISO 9001-2008, that focuses on standardization and documenting processes, is based on quality management. 6 Sigma and 8 Sigma are all based on quality management. Do you apply for such awards in Cyprus? Or do you have schools that apply for such awards, or universities? And to what extent do you think this is applicable? What do you think? No? No application for such awards?
No.
Do you think that this is coming soon? It is important? Maybe international students, especially with a university that has such online programs, would be something attractive. Maybe it's time to start thinking of what about having such a competitive advantage, or is it a competitive advantage? In fact, what do you think, Professor?
I think certainly it is a competitive advantage, and certainly we ought to have those. In our public education system, I don't think it is coming anytime soon. No, I don't think so. At the university level, we are trying to instigate processes such as 6 Sigma that we mentioned. The EFQM model, we may get that. And
yes.
The MBA programs we have, we're preparing them to go through the accreditation processes to get those international accreditations. So those are being prepared.
Yeah.
But for the time being, we are only trying to do the minimum, which is the accreditation process, the national accreditation process, which by law is required from all universities in Cyprus in order to provide our new programs. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, interesting. I'd like to share with you some experience here. When we applied as a university, the Modern University for Business and Science in Lebanon, for a VALAG accreditation, which is a European accreditation, we applied for the institutional accreditation. In fact, we reviewed its criteria and we were benchmarking with the criteria in order to get accredited, and we found it exactly the same as what we're doing in terms of quality management. They look at the strategy, they look at the teamwork, they look at all these points, the leadership, the governance system, the way of inspection and the quality control department and its role and its evaluation, etc. So within less than a year of preparation, we were able to get the accreditation and match all its criteria because we were applying quality management. So this means that even quality management would support universities in being accredited. Now, for schools that applied the quality management, they summarized these points as the best practices of using quality management in education. It helped them in creating the vision and mission, in identifying their stakeholders. By creating the vision and mission, having a total quality management model requires to have a clear vision and mission and strategy. This is essential. So those schools who applied and didn't have this, it put them on the right track. It also helped them in identifying their stakeholders and knowing who are their interested stakeholders and satisfying them. They established a quality criteria. They had a quality system for the school, and they had also quality tools in order to inspect the quality performance through PDCA, through different quality techniques, quality function deployment, that they were able to assess their performance. So it was successful. It also helped them in evaluating their results and the satisfaction of different stakeholders and benchmarking with the right standards, in addition to creating the culture of celebrating the success and rewards, which wasn't the case in all the schools that recently started applying quality management. So these are examples of successful cases and successful experiences of schools that applied quality management. But what I would conclude with is that, as we all agreed here in this evening, that quality management, to fit education and higher education, it needs to be modified because it is a business model. However, it is helpful nowadays with all the changes that are happening in education and higher education. It should be modified, and at the same time, it should be also customized to the context that it operates in. In one school, it would be different from the others based on priorities as well. And it requires its own culture to be accepted and to be successful. Thank you. That's it from my side. Please feel free to ask any question or to open any discussion or to give any opinion that you may have.
So Dr. Rabah, thank you so much for the presentation. It was nice that we had also an interactive presentation. We ran out of time, but we'll maybe a couple of questions from the audience. I will now give you access also if you want to raise your hand. Maybe from the audience here in the room. Επίσης, να Σας αποστείλω και τον σύνδεσμο για το πιστοποιητικό συμμετοχής, το στέλνω τώρα. Και αν έχουμε κάποια ερώτηση... Εντάξει, υπήρχε η συζήτηση. There was a discussion during the presentation. So it was nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I preferred having the discussion more than the questions at the end so we can interact together. Thank you all for having me today. It was really a pleasure meeting you and visiting the University of Cyprus. Thank you so much.
Ωραία. Δεν βλέπω κάποια ερώτηση. Ο Θεόδωρος, παρακαλώ, Θεόδωρο.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. If I recall the term that you used, you said that both the client and the product is community development.
Yes.
How do you define that and how do you measure it?
Yes. When we say community development, it means we are working to develop the community. The way to develop the community is by creating democratic, critical thinking nationals. And these are the students who are going to graduate from higher education. Because communities only develop if you have nationals or people of the community that have critical thinking, that they question the system, that they are able to create their own perceptions and their own opinions and to say them loudly. So that's why within this model, the part of research for students is highly encouraged. And this is what we're applying also at MUBS. Students are encouraged to conduct research because when they conduct research and they publish, they learn critical thinking and they become national citizens and they lead the graduate to community development. So by this, because we are working on all the system to achieve community development, it is the customer. And at the same time, it's the product because you will have a product of students who are graduating with this critical thinking. As soon as the new generation critical thinking, they can develop the community. In terms of assessment, it's more of assessing the performance of students if they've achieved this by making sure that they learn how to publish and they publish by their last year of before graduating. So we're translating critical thinking into research and we make sure they publish, we assess by that, and this is how we achieve community development in this model.
Ωραία. So, Dr. Rabah, thank you once again. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ όλους και όλες για τη συμμετοχή σας. Ευχόμαστε ένα καλό βράδυ και καλή συνέχεια.
Thank you.